Alright, what you're going to do is you're going to paint your rocks white or any color you want. White shows up best. If you have a white image, it's probably going to be best on black. Then you're going to want some Mod Podge. And you're going to want to paint your rocks white or whatever background color you decide. I chose white. And we'll paint these white, and then we're going to let them dry, and then put Mod Podge on them. Alright, these are almost dry.
Huh?
I have very little patience when it comes to stuff either boiling or drying or just in general waiting. And I didn't take the lid off my Mod Podge.
Why didn't it work when you was trying to do the rock on one of them?
I never tried. I didn't have a picture to transfer. It was something that I traced offline and then put on a rock. But that is a good idea. Alright, now I got my rocks. They're nearly dry. I'm going to take Mod Podge, just regular old Mod Podge. This one's glossy. Doesn't matter what you use. Gotta use a crappy brush. This was one of my best brushes I used yesterday. Probably a bad idea because now it's all stiff. If you do use a brush, I'd suggest washing it out with soap and water, but even then I could not promise you that it would be usable afterwards. So you're just going to brush Mod Podge onto your rocks and then let that one dry. Alright, now that your rocks are dry, I gotta reopen my Mod Podge. Now that your rocks are dry, you're going to take a picture. This one's from the newspaper. This one's from one of my mail, and I accidentally, on purposely, threw away my presidents because I was done with them, which I probably shouldn't have, because... Anyways, they were printed on a FedEx print-to-go printer, so it was one of the large ones at the FedEx Center. This one's from the newspaper, and I don't know what this is printed with. So what you're going to want to do after you had Mod Podged your rock, you're going to take a little bit of Mod Podge and just lay it over that one layer, just like that. And then you're going to Mod Podge your picture only on the front. You do it on the back and it's going to make it almost impossible to peel off, and then it'll give you an outline also. So you're going to Mod Podge these pretty good. And they have another thing that's not quite Mod Podge that I don't remember what it's called. So just like that, just Mod Podge the holy bumpkiss out of it, and then you're going to lay it how you want it on the rock. So that's not going to work. So like that. And you're going to flatten it down, get all the air bubbles out of it, because the air bubbles are going to be where the paper doesn't stick, so it's going to be like almost like a kitty tattoo. And then you're going to run it like that, and then just let it dry. I'm going to do the same thing with this picture I got from the newspaper. I'm not 100% sure the newspaper works, but when I've had sealant and then I go to spray the sealant on and it's not quite dry and I roll it over, I'll get the transfer from the newspaper. So I'm going to see if this one works. This one's an attorney lady, but I decided to use her face because she was pretty. So I also cut the paper to about what the rock looks like. So you're going to want these to completely dry. So I got that. I'm going to put, as you can see, I didn't let my rock dry, so I wiped off some of my stuff. So I'm going to lay this over the rock. This one's kind of weird. And you're going to push all the wrinkles out, all the air bubbles, and it's going to sit on that rock, and you're going to let it dry completely. Okay, the paper's dry. What you're going to do is you're going to take some water and peel the paper off or back. You'll want to start in a corner. This is why I say don't put, you can't really help it, but try not to put the Mod Podge over it because it creates an outline. So I'm going to try this newspaper one. As you can see, it's starting to get wet. You see a wet spot right there? That's what you want, because that'll help peel the paper backing off. It was kind of hard to do with one hand. It's also why you don't want the Mod Podge on there, is because it'll stick to the backing too and make it really hard. As you can see, I rubbed too hard on there. Hopefully it works. I don't know if this one will work completely. It might not. It doesn't look like it is. And if you feel like you're rubbing too hard or you want more paper off and you don't want to take it too far, just let it dry and then come back and rub some more paper off. Just don't rub it too much like I did there, because then it'll really pull the paper off. See right there? And this because it's not completely dry too in some spots. But that's basically what you do. And that's also part of the not being able to put the Mod Podge in the right spot. You can see her face. Just gently pull the paper back. So it does work with newspaper. You see that. The best printers I heard were inkjet printers. I don't have a printer. I have a computer, but I don't have it with me. So you're going to want a dry place or to cover your table before you do your craftables. And then you're going to want patience with this. You need Mod Podge, whatever color background paint you need, brushes, the basic stuff. I'm going to try this one to see if it did anything. You see that one immediately got wet, so that's because I didn't have the amount of Mod Podge that I needed for that one. And then one thing you'll else notice on this is I didn't have the paper reversed. So as you can see, the letters on there are backwards. So you'd have to read this through the mirror. I'm still going to hide this rock. But if you do this and you have your own computer, as you can see I did a little too much there. If you have your own computer, what you would do is you would reverse the photo. I don't know if you would take it into, I don't know if you'd have Photoshop, because in Photoshop it's pretty easy to reverse the picture. You can also do it in Draw and Paint, where you transfer the picture to Draw and Paint, and then you would reverse your photo there. But that's basically what you do to photo transfer. So that one worked really well, and that was printed off of one of my mail stuff. But as you can see, if you're going to do letters, this one's backwards. So if you're going to do letters, you're going to have to reverse them and then print them out. And the best printer I heard was a LaserJet printer. I'm not sure what printer this was printed with. And I know that the only printer I use is at FedEx, and I don't know if that's a LaserJet either. But you can use it with almost any photo that you have, and especially if it's printed with a LaserJet. So that is basically how you do photo transfers. And then what you're going to do once you get this transferred is you can see that it's dull. Well, what you're going to do, which I don't have, is my clear sealant. You're going to put clear sealant over this. So any clear spray that'll work. I wouldn't suggest brushing it because that might brush off the image. But that's how you do a paint transfer or a photo transfer. This one was the newspaper. This one was a printed paper.